Disclaimer. The Joe Mobley Show aims to be suitable for all viewers. However, mature topics are discussed. Minors should always obtain a parent's permission before viewing. Families are encouraged to watch together and engage in meaningful follow-up conversations. While the content provided is for informational and entertainment purposes only, it is not intended as professional advice or services. This show does not constitute medical, legal, financial, relationship, or other professional advice. If you require assistance in any of those areas, please consult with a qualified professional. Some viewers might find information, opinions, and terminology used offensive. The Joe Mobley Show is not intended to offend, but rather to inform and entertain. We do not seek to intentionally offend. However, we do scrutinize various events, ideologies, and opinions through a particular worldview. The thoughts, opinions, and beliefs of any host, personality, or guest of the show are solely representative of the individual espousing them and do not represent the Joe Mobley Show or any other individual, organization, company, or group. No one is making you watch or listen. So, there's that.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Let's freaking go. Very excited to be back with you all. Who do we have in the chat? We got Seriously Shelby in the chat. Welcome in. Juan over on X. I think this is your first time on X, man. Welcome in. Oh, shoot, X. I gotta open that and share it out. I always forget one. Never fails. All right, here we go. Sharing it out. Who else do we have in the building? Let's get you. Yeah. There we go. Perfect. Boom. Should Christians sit out the 2024 election? Let's talk about that in a bit. We got DMville in the building. Salute to you. Gardner's Earth guy says, I'll get to the monologue in just a minute, folks. Says, I'm 54, saved since 17, and never voted because government is the devil's kingdom. Gardner, respect your opinion. I will say that your opinion is at odds with Jesus's own words, and we can have a discussion about that. Speaking of having a discussion about that, guys, the last hour of the show is call-in, so grab your spirit of choice. I've got the local Catoctin Creek Distilleries, like smoked honey rye bourbon, I think is what it is. I don't normally go for a flavored spirit, but Catoctin Creek, it is delicious. Very well done. Very, very well done. Juan, I'm glad you sent that comment over on X because I had totally forgot. Adam Ant over on Rumble. Heyo. Welcome in. Kay Banfield, we Christians should not sit this out. Only one political convention did live on-demand abortions right outside the convention doors. Who the bloop celebrates that? Exactly. Also, God himself installed many Bible heroes that you all know and love into the seat of government, whether it be Daniel, Saul for a time, but anyway, Daniel, David, Solomon, Moses, Joseph, the list goes on and on and on. Esther, you even have your classic female in government story. Now, of course, that was a monarchical government. But honestly, that's a really hard, it's riddled with fallacy depending on how you would argue the point that we should not vote because the government is the devil's kingdom. Then Jesus was saying to give to, when Jesus says give to Caesar what is Caesar's, appropriately put through your method here that you're espousing, then that would be Jesus saying to give to Satan what is Satan's. And I'm not quite sure that necessarily follows what is up to the DMV. Yes, they used to call this area the DMV. Now they call it NCR, National Capital. Now they call it the National Capital Region, NCR, and I refuse. I refuse to. Yeah. Oh, Adam Ant, are you going to the camp out? And what's funny? Talking about bringing bourbon to the camp out. I was really on the fence. Oh no, I gotta pick that up or I'll forget it. I was really on the fence about whether I should bring cigars to the camp out. Obviously, there's like 3-day fire there while we're there, so not necessary. Anyway, I don't know. I'm on the fence. It might be cool enough that I could put my humidor in the car and the sticks will be safe. Anyway, yeah, it'd be I would transform into an old white man. We're out there on the mountain, and I've got bourbon and a cigar. Should I bring my robe, my smoking robe? All right. Ayo, Glenn Lawrence is in the building. Guys, go check out Glenn's channel. I believe it's called Glenn Lawrence, or it might be called Glenn Lawrence Presents. Let's see. James's Life Talks is in the building. Salute to you, good sir. Hey, look, I'm in the building. Let's freaking go. Exactly. Last hour. Yeah, look, I'm reminding myself of things. Guys, last hour of the show is call in, so get your spirit of choice ready, and you can join definitely myself, possibly Samantha. We'll see what she wants to get into when she's online. Kevin Keogh, or Kevin Koff, welcome in, good sir. Not sure if you're here on my channel or Samantha's. Reality Pocket. Hey now, I'm an old white man. Well, let's crack some bourbon and a cigar together. Come on out to Loudoun County or surrounding areas and let's do it. Who else? Casey Stafford is in the building. Greetings from Topeka. Woo! Passed through Topeka just once on a road trip from... Now that's Kansas. Where was I going exactly? I was probably going from Oklahoma to somewhere back east, maybe North Carolina, maybe Nashville or something. I traversed from the mid-Atlantic eastern coast to Oklahoma quite a number of times the 6 years I was stationed out there. One of those times brought me through Topeka. I didn't really stop, but yeah. If I wanted to watch dude, I would have clicked on him. Wait, what? I don't get that one. Casey Stafford, not sure about maybe, I don't know. Maybe there's some sidebar going on. I quit drinking 2 years ago. Congrats to you, Reality Pocket. I do enjoy a good spirit from time to time. Let me open Samantha's, because maybe I can chat with people over there as well. All right, let's talk nanny state for just a moment. Oh, Casey, you're on. Okay, so Samantha, this makes perfect sense. If I wanted to watch dude, I would have clicked on him. Hey, so Samantha will be here in about 10-ish minutes. I've changed the format of the show from a straight hour to a monologue, then the hour-long podcast that I'm assuming that you're used to, which is Samantha and I going through the news of the day. And then there is about an hour of call-in show at the end, some of which Sam will be here for, some of which she'll, punch out and go do mom things. I'm not sure if we can configure it in such a way that the monologue portion is omitted from her channel on the live. I know we can clip it out later so that if you go to her video, it would start. I don't think that she desires to do this, but it would start where she, comes online. So yeah, don't know if I could help you anymore with that one. Guys, I want to talk about nanny state for a minute. And why it's not a good thing, and also kind of why it's a dangerous thing. And I closed my notes. My notes are completely gone, so that's fun. When I say nanny state, I mean this. Whether you realize it or not, we talk about the freedoms that we enjoy. We talk about we're America, home of the free because of the brave. We enjoy more freedoms than everyone else. It's really starting to become a little bit of a platitude, guys. It's really starting to become a little bit of a platitude. And the reason for that is I find myself again and again and again as an American, former law enforcement, former military, still doing things for the government, been as patriotic as they come from the day I was born. I have done everything that the country has asked of me, and I'm finding more and more as a man, as an autonomous individual, I'm finding that I need to ask the government's permission for things that I was always otherwise free to do. That is a nanny state. That is, mother, may I please do this thing? Can I stay out late? Can I drive? Can I operate heavy machinery? And on and on and on and on. Now, the way that the nanny state came about is the fastest growing religion in the West, in the United States, in the UK, over across the pond. And it's not Scientology, it's not even Christianity. Some metrics say that the fastest growing religion thing that is worshipped, to be sure, in the West is safetyism. And the person who brought this to my attention before 2020, pre any type of viruses or illness or anything like that, was Dennis Prager. Dennis Prager has been beating this drum about, I got all this crap on my desk, guys, because charging up all my batteries and stuff for the camping trip. Anyway, whatever. It's not as clean as it normally is. You guys are fine. You'll survive. But Dennis Prager's been talking about this for years, well before COVID, that we are having a nanny state, and that's dangerous because it always results in the government getting more power. And you can test this out for yourself because you are mother may-ing all the time. And they do it in the name of safety because Big Daddy government's got to protect you. Here's the problem. Big Daddy government's not supposed to protect you. You are supposed to protect yourself. You are supposed to plan and prepare. When things go bad, you are supposed to be your own first responder. You are supposed to be the person who gets you into a situation and gets you out of a situation. And in the exceedingly rare circumstance, or in the extreme on the fringes circumstance, Big Daddy government, which is supposed to be small daddy government, maybe like your neighbor, your uncle, something like that. I'm mixing metaphors here. Is supposed to lend aid either with their military or their police force or their sanitation department or whatever. Big Daddy government coming in to save the day is supposed to be the exception, not the rule. And what they've done, how they've usurped all the power from you, from me, from everyone, is they've said, we know better than you. We care about you more than you care about yourself. We care about your neighbor more than you care about that neighbor, more than that neighbor cares about themselves. This was on full display during 2020, and then after the virus, with all of the school stuff, with the schools being closed. And the government is saying to you regarding children and any type of treatments that they should have, the government is arguing that they love your child more than you do and know what's best for them, and is more invested in a safe and prosperous life for your child. It's laughably absurd. Prima facie, on the face of it, it is a lie. You know that to be true. Anyone who has parents, or who has kids, anyone who has observed parents with children knows that that is a bold-faced lie, that the government could possibly care more for your own flesh and blood than you. It's an obvious lie. And what really got me thinking about, it's so funny, Dennis Prager, yeah. But what really got me thinking about the Paul Lott, that is a great comment. I'm going to read the comment in just a second, good sir. Honored to see you here. What really got me thinking about the nanny state is Ron Swanson. Ron Swanson, the classic man. Of course, Nick Offerman, like many actors, is a raging, flaming lib. But Ron Swanson, when he's butchering the animal in the park and he's going to kill it, and the park ranger comes over and says, hey, you can't do that. And he says, of course I can. He said, I have a permit or I have a license or whatever. The guy says, you do? Can I see it? And he hands over a piece of paper and it says, I'm an American. I can do what I want. That had always been true. That had always been true during the Confederacy, during the, a little bit during those kind of pre-colonial days, but obviously the colonies were under the crown, under the monarch, but there were governors in the colonies, and there was, it's a little bit of an interesting time period because there was a monarch, but there was also Western law. There was also common law practice throughout the land here. So you couldn't do the lynch mobs, and there's certain things you couldn't do because it was unlawful. Of course, people did do that stuff. It was illegal, just like we have, drugs are illegal. We got people doing that. But back then, you knew that you were on your own. Post the Lewis and Clark expedition, when the government is incentivizing people to go out west and conquer the frontier and build up strong communities, when you took that pilgrimage, you knew you were on your own. I mean, this is so American that there was a game about it all throughout my childhood. You guys remember that old floppy disk, Oregon Trail, and little Sally or Lucy or whatever her name is, she never made it west of the Mississippi, which is probably realistic. She was a small, young female and she's not cut out for that kind of pilgrimage. And they'd set out on the journey. You would always lose whatever her name was. You would always lose her before the Mississippi, or she would die fording that river. That would be the end for her. But the Ron Swanson point, just to put a fine point on it, is everything that you or I or anyone else needs a license to do is an unlawful, I would argue unconstitutional, anti-freedom usurpation of state, local, and federal government. And I cannot be dissuaded. I got to read this comment from Paul Lott. Paul says, I have always said that every law takes away someone's freedom. Paul is a great guy. He's run for office here in Northern Virginia a couple of times. Businessman, I'm not sure. I believe Paul is Harvard educated. I know you went to an Ivy League school. If it's not Harvard, please forgive me. I'm 90% sure I'm thinking the right school. He says, I've always said that this is one of the only men who's run for office that holds this belief about legislation. He says, I've always said that every law takes away someone's freedom. The goal of government should be to have as few laws as possible to address any common problem in society. Politicians run on what they can do for you, not what freedoms they can restore to you. Paul must have got my notes or something. This is exactly what I'm trying to articulate to you all. And lastly, he says, they run promising to spend more money, never less. Harvard 88. I'm glad my brain is not failing me. That was back when Harvard was still Harvard, eh? High joke. Still not taking anything away from anyone who's gone to those sacred halls. Imperious, welcome in, good sir. Bay Street Racer, good to see you. Haven't seen you in a little bit. Samantha, I'm glad that she, boom. I'm glad that happened because my phone ringer is on. So, to demonstrate this, we're going to take a little field trip, folks. We're going to take a little field trip to ChatGPT. What do you, well, give me a list of things you need a license to do in the U.S. All right. So in the United States, you need a license to be a medical professional. This is kind of stupid. You should need schooling and training to be a medical professional. But what about malpractice? But what about all these things? We got to keep people safe. People can keep themselves safe. How long does a doctor operate? An unlicensed doctor in the United States, where docs don't have licenses, they have pedigree. Hey, I studied here, and then I was under the tutelage of these professors, of these famed physicians, and I was their apprentice. I'm credentialed as in I've done the schooling. Doctors have always gone through some type of higher education since the establishment of higher education. Same thing with lawyers. But the idea of needing a license, how long can a trash attorney practice law? It's 2024. We've got the internet. Do you think someone is out there scamming people? Someone is out there doing harm? And one of the added benefits of all of this licensure stuff and the government involvement is the government goes through that process that James Lindsay laid out for Nick Freitas, another well-known Virginia politician. He's really just a patriot, former Green Beret. He's got a homestead. He refuses to run for federal office. He is a statesman just here, Commonwealth of Virginia. Here, you guys go over, and I didn't realize the comments were pulling up over here. You guys go over and give Mr. Paul Lott a follow on X, at Paul Lott. You will be blessed by any conversations you have with him. Teachers, electricians, plumbers, real estate. You can't sell a house without a license. You can't go and put your faith and confidence in someone to know what they're doing and use their book of business, use their past performance. The military, we called it dope. The thing that will save your bacon is the data on previous engagements. Of course, past performance is indicative of future performance. It's laughable. Laughable. Hey, CH, good to see you tonight. It's laughable that the government says, with all the king's horses and all the king's men, that past performance isn't indicative of future success. What is? Architects and engineers, cosmetologists. Oh, man. Couldn't get your hair styled or your hair cut by someone that didn't have a license. Private investigator, accountant, therapist, counselor, funeral director, embalmer, veterinarians, commercial drivers, pilots, tattoo artists, body piercing, security guard, pest control, the business industry. You need a license to operate a business. Absolutely absurd that you need a license to operate a business. Heyo, outspoken Samantha, how are you?
Good. How are you? How is everybody doing?
I am doing just fine. I don't know if you could catch the monologue. We were riffing on the nanny state, and I was complaining about all of the things that you need a license to do, which, to be clear, used to be things that you could always do. And then the government said, hey, let's make them ask us permission. And I like to say there was some group that said, bro, they can do this. They're not going to ask our permission. And somewhere along the line, Americans pooped the bed. And now we ask Big Daddy government's permission to use. Whoa, that was loud. We asked Big Daddy government's permission to do anything, to style hair, to do someone's makeup, to open a business. It's insane.
Well, and to maybe push back on that a little bit, I think a license is an indicator of the fact that you have the skill level to do the thing that you are licensed to do. I mean, we don't want just anybody out there driving a car unless they have earned the license to be able to do so, meaning they've met the qualifications, they took the courses and the classes to operate that vehicle. So I I'm not totally against licenses, but I do see the argument to be made that now it just seems like we have to ask permission to do anything.
Well,
So,
here's the elephant in the room for opening the door to licensure. Uh, One, I don't agree that it's a foregone conclusion that things are safer because the government, known for malfeasance, incompetence, inability to do anything at a professional level, balance a budget, pull out of Afghanistan, those kind of things. I don't take it as prima facie evidence that because government says it's safer means it's safer. I think they fail to meet that burden. But the Pandora's box of it all is what limits the government from licensing, from requiring you to have a license to nurse your baby, have to need to complete a licensing requirement, or a credentialing requirement for things related to your kids, for things related to your marriage with your husband, maybe some
well,
of
you
those
do have to have a
HOA
marriage
things.
license.
Yeah, which is a whole crock. Yeah,
Yeah.
which
Yeah. No, and sorry, I have a new setup here, so my sound is coming from different places and it's throwing me off.
oh no.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's going to be really good, especially once I get some stuff behind me. Oh no, my internet.
What?
Are we good? Okay.
Yeah.
No, I get where you're going with that, and I definitely think, considering the massive overreaches in power that we've seen from government, particularly in the last few years, when they tried to make everybody, they tried to float the idea of COVID vax cards to pretty much do everything, which is, pretty much just asking permission to even enter a business or to even leave your home. So I am not putting it past these people to try and make us have a license to do pretty much anything. I guess what I think maybe the solution is, or maybe just an idea, is it's not so much that the license is the problem, because I do think that we need that indicator. You know how to drive a car, you understand business regulations, you understand the craft of, I had to get a cosmetology license to be able to work in a salon, those type of things. But I don't think that it should be in the hands of the government. I think there are
Yeah.
people, that maybe run businesses, or, that oversee these different areas, that have far more expertise in understanding what requirements people need to have, and they should be the ones overlooking, how people
You're
acquire those
you're
things.
really arguing against licensure. So what you're describing is the system the way it was since antiquity, where there were people who either their parents handed them down the knowledge or they came into it on their own. They were the expert in carpentry and metallurgy and whatever, basket weaving, and you could do higher education and then tutelage
Mhm.
under them, or you could do straight tutelage and apprentice under them. So now you're a beautician because you have this pedigree, and I've worked for, or a chef, or a carpenter, or a builder, plumber, whatever, and I've worked for this person, this person, this person. I've been under these experts' tutelage. I apprenticed with whomever, and now my skill and my book of business kind of reputation precedes you. The government said, none of that's good enough. We know more than all of the experts. And then they sat down a panel of people who had never, the people who decide these licensing requirements aren't beauticians, they aren't carpenters, they aren't plumbers, and they do stuff like the people who decide gun regulations. They're not gun people.
Yep.
They're psychos. They don't know what they're talking about. And the more expertise I've gotten and had to do more credentialing, I've realized, oh, the people who drew out this credentialing thing are stupid. They're morons, but they're government. So we got to do what they say.
Yeah. No, and I don't, maybe I am arguing against licensure, but I don't necessarily feel like that's my point. I think it's just more who handles it, because, obviously at this point, because we have people that are deciding who gets a license and who doesn't, that have no idea, what the requirements really should be to acquire it, a license pretty much doesn't really mean anything other than
Exactly.
you are allowed to do this without being penalized for it. So that's why I think it needs to be in the hands of people who actually understand what is required, because I do find value, or there should be value, in that license that says that you understand that you have done an apprenticeship, that you do have the knowledge, you understand what it is that you're doing, versus somebody that's just walking in and saying that they do, which is pretty much what you can do just to get a license these days for anything. It doesn't necessarily mean you understand what you're doing. You can just get that because, like I said, the value is not there. So it's not necessarily an indicator that you're an expert in anything. So I think if we could find a way to return that value to licenses, then there would be an argument for it.
I agree. I think we should do away with the licenses. Right now, they don't have value. Maybe the middle ground is finding a way to return value to it. I like the
It's
idea
kind
of
of like college degrees.
You just like read my brain. I was because I have a degree in music, and it's exactly that kind of thing. It's like, do you need this? Or because you can tell in seconds when a vocalist opens their mouth, when an instrumentalist starts playing their instrument, you can tell in seconds if this person is trash or not.
Right. And the degree doesn't really do a whole lot. It's like you completed the courses, you understand the coursework, you can take a test, but do you understand what this is about? So,
to Liberty University's credit, a lot of universities will let anyone can study music, but anyone cannot be a performance major. At Liberty, you have to stand and deliver, and you have a performance review. And it's either at the end of your freshman year or maybe in the middle of your sophomore year, but the school decides for you, the experts with the ears, and you go and you perform for them, and they tell you, yes, you are good enough to pursue performance, or no, you are not. And I loved it. I love that they asked people. I feel good that I was allowed to study perform. Now, I was very good when I was a young studly musician, whatever. So still worse than my wife. She's a far superior musician. I had the career, but she's got the talent. She's so good. All right. Well, that was a whole side note. I didn't even get to the complaints about the recreational activities, guys. Hunting, fishing, trapping, operating equipment for overlanding. That's survival stuff. Those are natural rights. Like in Virginia, I can't collect rainwater. I can't hunt without a license. I can't fish without a license. I tell you what. I'm Ron Swanson on this. It's like my family's starving or dying of thirst, and I can't collect rain. This is ridiculous. All right, let's get into the first story, guys. If you haven't heard, the Department of Defense, I guess technically the White House, has reinstituted DoD Directive 5240.01, entitled the DoD Intelligence and Intelligence Related. You gotta love the names of these things, guys. Here, let's zoom in. For you all. The DoD Intelligence and Intelligence Related Activities and Defense Intelligence Component Assistance to Law Enforcement Agencies and Other Civil Agencies Directive. Not an act. It's just a DoD. They're DoDIs, they're DoDDs, DoD instructions and directives. They passed this last month, and here we've got some highlights from it. I don't like that they skip over stuff, but this is that defense intelligence component, which is any number of agencies. We broadly call them fourth estate. They're not civilian. They're not combative commands or major commands within the military, like the famed units you've heard of. These are agencies like DISA, the Defense Information Security Agency, or there are two MDAs. There's a Missile Defense Agency and there's a Media Defense Agency. Maybe these are like weird little government groups. many of them do intelligence. And now, and they also do, boots on the ground military stuff. But now under this provision, which was instituted a long time ago, and is now coming back to rear its ugly head, to add DoD response, not police, not federal agents, but a DoD response to any manner of emergencies, chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, incidents. They did not need to add this point because the president and Congress already have the power to augment federal authorities for NBC incidents. But the one that's got people perked up is Part C here, assistance in responding with assets with potential for lethality or any situation in which it is reasonably foreseeable that providing the requested assistance may involve the use of force that is likely to result in lethal force. I feel like they would have loved to have this on January 6th, but they didn't, including death or serious bodily injury. It also includes all support to civilian law enforcement officials in situations where a confrontation between civilian law enforcement and civilian individuals or groups is reasonably anticipated. So, what are your thoughts? Have you heard about this guy?
I have not. I feel like that was just kind of the script to Minority Report. Is that is that the movie with Tom Cruise where they arrest people based on the idea that they're about to commit a crime?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Totally.
So that it kind of gives me Minority Report vibes right there. Interesting that they are doing this right before the election, right before there could be potential unrest, and right before they've already demonstrated a propensity to target a particular side and label us with hate speech and call that violence and a threat of harm. So to me, it just kind of gearing up in preparation for that. Perhaps my brain is going in the wrong direction, but that is what that made me think of. What are your thoughts?
I did not think of Minority Report. One of the first movies I thought of, I think it's called Siege or Under Siege, Denzel Washington, younger in his career. But it's the situation that happened after 9/11 or after World War II, where they interned Japanese Americans, or where it was very dangerous to be a Muslim American. Shamefully, there was so much hate for people who 99.999 repeating percent were not involved in any terror attacks. But I mean, there were those cases of like the Sikh guys getting attacked, and they're like, we're not even Muslim. We're brown skinned and wear turbans. We're a whole other religion. And so it made me think of that movie because it's, DoD comes into New York City because there's a national emergency, there's some terror plot or something, and they basically start interning young Muslim men in New York City. It also gives me it popped into my mind, so I'll say it. It gives me the ick because it's another instance of domestic facing intelligence. Intelligence is only supposed to be outward facing. It's the kiss of death for any nation, republic or republic or otherwise, when you take those outward facing tools that are supposed to strike fear into the heart of your enemies, people who wish to do you harm, because like Mossad, we can reach out and touch you. You'll never see it coming, not like P. Diddy, like legitimate, and
wrong kind of touch.
Yeah, we're not going to reach out and touch you like that. I missed what you said. I totally missed the timing. It is interesting that this is kind of one of those October things happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think it is. It's just interesting that they are rolling these out almost as another means of intimidation. Just like keep things in line, like we have, and they've expanded the reasoning or the justification to go after people. They're kind of broadening those definitions. It's like if we have reason to believe that any one of you could be a threat for any reason, then we have, justification to implement all of these extra measures. So it's a little scary. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I love this account, Free Prince, on X. His 2 cents. He says the military and entity designed for external enemies now turns its gaze inward, posed to act with deadly precision. But he also says that this is by design. They anticipate conflict, and in their anticipation, they are preparing the battlefield. Anyone who's ever served or had a blue book or studied the campaigns of pick your military leaders, this is exactly right. Military U.S. Armed Conflict 101 is if you find yourself in a fair fight, your tactics suck. We are supposed to be overwhelming force. We're supposed to be 3-1, 4-1 over the enemy. If they don't have night vision, all of our battles are at night. If they don't have some capability, then we always make the battle determined by those terms. We want an unfair fight everywhere we can get it. So we stage the battlefield. Whether it's violence of action, whether it's speed and surprise, whether it's, dark 30 and they don't have nods, we always want that. So we say at the sand table when we're making battle plans, how much are we stacking the deck? What advantages are we bringing to bear? And when I read this for the first time, this was exactly the thought that I had. They're preparing the battlefield of the conflict that they anticipate, probably because they're going to cause it. But,
Yeah, probably. Well, and not to interrupt,
go for it.
it's something that I say all the time, and I think all of us are aware by now, is whatever the left accuses the right of doing, they are doing or have done. Whatever the left says the right is going to do is likely something that they are planning on doing. And what has Kamala Harris been repeating in so many of her speeches lately as she's been out there pretending to do interviews? I'm not really sure if you could classify them as such, but she keeps saying that Donald Trump is going to use the military against us for dissent, for disagreeing with him, for not falling in line. These are things that she has literally been screeching about lately. And when I hear that, my ears kind of get a little tingly, and I'm like, okay, if she's accusing President Trump of wanting to do that, that is likely something that the Democrats are going to do, that they have done, that they're putting in place. And then this comes out. I don't think it's a coincidence.
Speaking of, I watched your episode today about the interview, and good night. If you had to take a shot every time she said Donald Trump, you would die of alcohol poisoning. That interview was, It was so, yeah, but a number of times she did the accusatory, this is what this is what Trump's trying to do. And it's like, no, that's not what you're trying to do. That's what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
Actively doing. And it was decent. He could have done better. They need Steve Doocy. I would pay any sum of money to have a 20 or 30 minute interview with Kamala and Steve Dusey. That would be so good. The guy from Fox
News? Is it Peter Doocy?
Oh, Peter Doocy. Yeah. Who's Steve?
Yeah. No, I don't know. There's probably somebody named Steve that works at Fox News. But no, I would love that. And I think Brett Baer did. I think he did okay. I love at the end when he's like, "Well, I hope you got to say everything you wanted to say about Donald Trump." It's just like, well, I have more to say. It's like, well, that's not what we're here for. So I hope you enjoyed yourself.
That was good. That was really good.
But anyway, yes, that is truly how you have to listen to the left. Is they've either done it, they will do it, or it's in place, or they're going to do it. Whatever they say we're going to do, whatever they say Donald Trump is going to do, they're either doing it or they will.
So you want to jump to the next story?
Do I want to jump into the next story?
I mean, are you done with
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm ready for the next story.
I was gonna play the video, but honestly, I'm just not. I don't know. What do you think?
It's a little dark.
Yeah.
It's a little dark, but maybe, I mean, I don't know. I think the pictures probably tell the story enough.
That's what I was Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. If here, the pictures, and I mean, you can see here, I'll skip to the end here. I'll skip to the end part of the video just so you guys know that this guy was legitimately injured. Well, 6'6" black woman attacked this police officer. He was, I mean, she was under arrest. I don't know. Oh, I don't know. I think so. I haven't heard reporting otherwise, but that's a good question. Anyway, charge this officer. This is after the shooting, but just to demonstrate, I mean, you can see the blood here on his radio, but I hope it doesn't go back to the beginning. Hello? Are you there? All right, well, maybe that settles it for us. But if you watch the body cam footage shows the entire shooting. It shows old girl come out with the chef's knife, slashing and gashing. But there's the frozen frames. It says above this F around and find out, but they didn't use the the acronym. But yeah, so not only is this a good shoot, just this alone would make it a good shoot. She had gotten to him already, and this is kind of the aftermath here. Dude's forehead, getting a head wound sucks. Like Donald Trump has been saying, the ears bleed so much, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, getting a laceration on your face above the ocular cranial area here. So basically bridge of the nose. What is this called right here? The top of here and above.
That's the bridge of your nose, yeah.
Yeah, then what's this?
I'm
So can you tell me what a woman is? No, getting cut on the upper region of the head bleeds like crazy. Why I pulled this story up is because a wild take here. I'm going to post my polarizing point of view and make Samantha very uncomfortable. The reason this woman, just you responding to this as a white woman, but you know, our followers love you. The reason this happened, the reason that this woman, normally I don't care about the gender or the race when crime is involved, but I'm gonna pull a lefty here and focus on those Democrats. The reason that this black woman thought that this was appropriate to come charging out, slashing and gashing at this officer is because she's black, because Black America has instituted this black supremacist culture that I was aware of as a child. It's no longer, get out of here, Long Island. It's no longer the civil rights movement where we're fighting for equality. We're in a time of history where Black Americans want better than. They want more rights than Samantha. And I do not consider myself in that part of cultural blackness. I want meritocracy. I want you own your successes and you own your failures, learn from it and do better. I don't know what this chick's warrant was for. I don't know why this is right down the road. This is Fairfax, Virginia. Why this Fairfax officer had to go and deal with this woman. But all of the BLM stuff, all of the cases that you all know the victims by name because they were poor black people doing something that they should not have been doing in 99% of the instances, think that the rules, Black Americans think that the rules do not apply to us. And as a Virginian, I'm glad that this woman has taken the room temperature challenge instead of pulling down a bare minimum of $26,000 a year of my taxpayer dollars to pay for her glamping in jail for the next several years. So that's a mouthful. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
About crazy Black Americans?
Well, and I have pretty much, the same line of thinking. I mean, I saw this story. I don't remember why the officer responded to this particular call. I feel like he knocked on the door, banged on the door. She opened it and then closed it. I think he opened it again, or she opened it again.
Yeah.
And then just immediately like swiped at his face with this knife. and
As
then
soon as the
proceeded
door
to,
opened.
come out of the hallway swinging this knife at him. So, what is he supposed to do? Like, clearly, this is a threatening situation. She made her bed. Now she has to sleep in it permanently, unfortunately. But I agree with you. Like, this is the result of DEI, CRT, these things that have said, I guess because Black America had their turn being oppressed, they had their turn being slaves, they had their turn being, kind of the lesser in society. Now, the tables have completely turned, and it's fair for us to just completely expect nothing, to just let Black America do whatever they want. And a lot of people seem to know that. This person clearly thought that they could come out swinging a knife at this officer and there would be no consequences for them, especially given all the ways that the police officers have been attacked. I think a lot of people are starting to think police officers aren't going to do anything because they don't want to deal with the backlash on themselves.
Solid point.
It's created this entire mess, but I have to question, where is my white privilege? Because if I did the same thing, it wouldn't be, consequences would be completely expected, and they would be justified, and they would be fair. So people would expect me to spend the rest of my life in prison. So it's completely upside down. And I don't understand how people can even adopt this way of thinking, because it absolutely makes no sense. Anybody that is swinging a knife at anybody else deserves consequences. If you feel like they're a threat to you, then they deserve to be the first one to go down before they take you down. So I don't care what color their skin is.
I failed to mention one part, and Adam Ant even reminded me of the last story. People are saying, what are the implications with the Posse Comitatus Act? Just if we can mix government rules and things together and make some kind of weird metaphor, just think of this as the Chevron deference issue that we have with Congress giving away its lawmaking responsibility to agencies to make rules that have application of law. I think the same thing would happen in the Posse Comitatus Act, which basically says that it's an additional place, because the Constitution apparently is not good enough. That basically says the quartering of troops, that troops can't be used on American shores to deal with domestic issues outside of a literal act of Congress. This directive, just like it was in the past, is Congress saying, we're kind of going to farm that out to the president. We'll just let him do his thing, and we want to keep getting paid and keep getting on the board at all of these big bougie firms and defense contractors. And the lawyers and people that aren't us will deal with the shirking later.
Right.
So, Posse Comitatus wrapped up just for you, Adam. On Black America, again, what, if anything, because I've tried, Lord knows Paul Lott in the audience has tried. This man has dedicated much of his life, resources, time, all sorts of things to going into, I want to say, the community around Chicago or somewhere. My memory is just dying right now relating to Paul. To help young Black Americans, read better, write better, learn about business, learn about all manner of things. So many people do this. It doesn't seem to be working. I've done a lot of it on a smaller scale, just trying to foster a culture of accountability instead of a culture of victimhood and we deserve this and reparations and all this other BS. What, if anything, is going to get us from this? I mean, this lady, it kind of looks like a lady. I think that this is legit, actually. I think this is just a very large woman. What is going to get us from that to... I mean, I say it all the time, guys. Frederick Douglass walked off the plantation, taught himself how to read, and attained one of the highest offices in federal government. Marriage rates were through the roof. Hardly no Black babies were born bastards to parents out of wedlock. On and off the plantation. And somehow now, Larry Elder says this all the time, somehow now, blacks in America have it worse in 2024 than blacks did in 1880? No. In 1865? No. So what, if anything, can be done to get from crazy, no accountability, I do what I want, F the police lady, to, can I say, just normal, appropriate to society, able to control impulses and act like an adult black America? How do we get from there to here?
Well, I mean, I know a lot of these conversations, you hear people like Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro and Michael Knowles go to these college campuses. And of course, a lot of the questions are always, Black America is disadvantaged, and therefore we need things like affirmative action. They need an extra hand in life because of the circumstances that they've come from. And these conservative speakers are constantly telling them, sorry, my computer keeps freezing, so I don't know if it's freezing on your end, but
You're not freezing on my end.
Okay, good. Then I'll just keep talking because it's happening here, but that's fine. They keep telling them, we need to bring families back together. We need Black fathers to stay in the home. We need them to stay married to the women that they have babies with, and all of these things. And I completely agree with that. I think the family unit has been completely belittled to mean absolutely nothing, when honestly it means everything to how society functions. Of course, it doesn't mean that people are going to have a perfect life, or we're going to have perfect outcomes and everybody's going to, live in this utopia. But obviously that's going to give us a better shot in society overall, and particularly to improve the circumstances of Black America. But I mean, at this point, you have to get people to want to change, which I think is the overall problem. Because you can tell them until you're blue in the face that this is what needs to happen on a larger scale. Take accountability, make better choices in your life, have a strong family unit. But we foster this society of victimhood, and it's easier for people to say, like, it's easier for people to want to be a victim, because then they get more handouts, then they get more people, trying to pave an easier path for them. And so it's really difficult at this point to turn that around and to get people to change their entire mindset. So the answer is, I have no idea, because I don't know how you get people to want that change, to want things to be better, because things have gotten terrible. And you would think that would be an eye-opening experience for everybody, but people seem to just want more of the same. And it's mind-blowing to me. And I mean, a second part to that would be, bring God back into society, like make God a focal point again. In God we trust, having the 10 commandments out there, having the Bible read in school. I mean, these are the things that we need to bring back, because clearly we have gone over the edge the more that we have taken all that is good and right out of society. That's my rant.
Grid one, we'll have callers in just a little bit. One more topic. I love the rant. People on Rumble love the rant. Adam Ant said nuclear family is key to a strong society. He also says get rid of affirmative action. Couldn't agree more. And number one, can I just say, can I just say, white people are like terrified to say a lot of what Samantha just said. That's gotta, you guys, I say it all the time. Hey, for us to fix society, it's going to cost you something personally. If you're a white American out there, I know someone's going to call you racist. They're calling you racist anyway. They're calling you racist anyway. So you got to get over that. You got to get over that. The time is now. The person is you. The thing does something need to be said? Yes. Does it need to be said by you? Yes. Does it need to be said now? Heck yes. It needed to be said a long time ago. And now we are in the bed that we made of complacency. So all of those speakers that Samantha listed, Kirk, Shapiro, I'll throw Larry Elder in there. I'll throw Thomas Howell in there. The metrics are super simple. Get married before you pop out a kid. before the kid pops out, okay? You knock up your girlfriend, get married. Shotgun wedding style, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Get a high school education, however you can get it. Take the GED test, graduate, turn the 18 years into 20 years. I don't care. Have a high school diploma or GED or equivalent. Have and maintain and keep a job. I don't care what the job is, and spend less than you make, which means earn and save money. You do those 4 things in 99 out of 100 circumstances, you will be successful. You will be just fine. Doesn't matter what's going on in the White House. Doesn't matter who the haters are, who the president is, who's saying whom is racist. None of that stuff matters. You do those things. You understand that marriage is, no matter what you tell me, I will not run away. It is a covenant for life. You will be good to go. Period.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, and the interesting thing is, I mean, the answers haven't changed. The answers to what makes a strong and healthy society and like create success for people, I mean, has a better track record of creating success for people. These answers have not changed, and it's always, I mean, the more we have listened to Kamala repeat that line, we don't want to be unburdened by we want to unburden ourselves from what has been, however she says, I mean, leave the past, ignore the history. That's basically what she's saying. But how dangerous is that? Because it's encouraging us to forget everything that has worked in society, that created prosperity and success for so many generations before us. So there's a reason that the reason that she's encouraging people to forget these things is because if they do, that's going to continue to encourage this downward spiral, which is exactly what they want. So don't unburden yourself from what has been. Embrace what has been. Give it a big hug and share it with other people.
Can't argue with that. Grid, you got to save the link, man. It's the same link. I don't change links until people disrespect the privilege or whatever. I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say. Yeah, you should have done that whole story. That was, what Samantha said. Just don't do what Kamala says, do what Samantha says. By the way, not racist. I just don't know the right way to say Kamala. Is that it?
Yeah, it's kind of like Pamela, but Kamala. That's how I remember it.
You know what? I'm calling bullcrap.
Not that I care, but
here's why I'm calling bullcrap. Do you remember? Have you heard this? That it's not Cherokee. It's like some crazily pronounced nonsense, like Cherokee or whatever. It's not Cherokee Indian. It's like some weird other way of saying it. Or
no,
it's not
heard that, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, it's not Iroquois. It's like Iroquois, and I'm just like, no, give me a break. People have been saying this for 100 years. Like, no. You guys are just trying to be victims in some way. What is going on, Joe? Who is the beautiful white Asian? Wow, Samantha, you have a fan. In Chaotic Truth, why is my screen getting darker? What is going on here? Oh. Is it not
That's very
charging?
kind. Is it what?
Kind is one word, creepy is another. No, just kidding.
Awesome.
I need to plug in where? Oh, here it is. Plugged into my other computer. Apparently I need to plug in my computer charger thing is going off and on. That's not good. It's plugged in. Okay, well. The dock is plugged in, but the computer thing started going boom, 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 boom. Okay, so, all right. Grid's impatient. Nobody else is coming up until we get to the call-in portion, but we'll bring this guy. Oh, what is that? Oh yeah, I forgot that I did that. Okay, good grief. Here, we'll just move you over.
Please stand by while we correct technical difficulties.
I don't know. That looks weird. Here, let's make us a little bigger. Oh, now. Good grief. Okay, hold on. Let's do this, and then we'll do add left and add right. Perfect. There we go. Oh, no, not perfect. Oh, geez. Okay, let's click on this guy. I swear, this is the thing that I hate the most about Ecamm Live, is squaring away the images. Oh, sorry. Start over. You when I went back to me, it muted you.
Yeah, I
Oh,
know.
I just said I'm
I was
taking up
wondering when
most
you were
of the
going to
screen.
unmute me. I just assumed that, I said something wrong. So it's okay.
Why did my little thing go away?
I don't
Shout it. Okay.
It's okay. It's okay. It's just technology. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. How are you, Samantha? Wow, I am getting quite an echo. Where'd the echo come from? It's not me.
I am great. How are you?
Great. Having a good time. Other than this echo. Where did that come from?
No clue. I don't like this shot. Anyway, here, let's do the last story. Oh, sorry.
I shouldn't be laughing. I mean, it's just not a great shot.
Yeah. So here, we're not going to listen to this whole thing, but let's listen to some of okay, it's going to do the same thing. Our buddy over at LFA TV.
Look, I was reached out to by a good friend of mine, Amanda Head from Just the News. And she said, Jeremy, I know you've got a big evangelical base. She goes, I've got a thing that we need, that approximately 104 million people in this country, under the umbrella of people of faith, are not able to vote in the 2024 election.
Whoops. I think I screwed that up.
Are not expected to vote in the 2024 election. And that includes 41 million born-again Christians and 32 million Christians who regularly go to church.
All right. So we don't need to watch the whole video to understand that this would be an absolute disaster. CBN reported, a couple of days ago, yesterday, upwards of 104 million people of faith, including 32 million self-identified Christians who regularly attend church services. This is not the 7 out of 10 Americans are Christian because they check a block. This is like evangelicals or mass attending or some type of Christian who actually goes to church. The Christian Post is tracking the exact same numbers, 104 million, including 32 million self-identified. This, I have to say, guys, would be a freaking disaster. This is not the way. This is not the way in our republic that has a democratic process for instituting the people's government, our representatives. This is not the way to protest, is to say, I'm going to boycott the election. That's not giving to Caesar what is Caesar's, or Xerxes, or Darius, or Nebuchadnezzar. That's giving the dictatorial class everything. You do everything, and we will. That's voting yourself into the gulag. What say you, Miss Outspoken Samantha?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. This is the first that I had heard of it. I think it just goes to show that people are just not focusing on the right things when it comes to elections. And, as much as we make fun of the left for voting on Kamala because she's a woman, because she's not white, because she's brat, whatever you want to call her, people are just not focused on the right things. I'm reading this article because I just opened it up here, and it says that it's because they don't like either candidate. They don't like Kamala Harris. They don't like Donald Trump. And I'm sure that is based on perhaps personality, I'm sure based on morality issues, based on their background, based on who they are as people. And I think it just goes to show that people are losing the ability to separate politics, policy versus people, and say, we need somebody that is going to lead the country. And you know what? I do get kind of sick and tired of Christians who say, I'm not going to vote for either of these people because they're not the best in line. It's like, if you can get your pastor or your minister to run for the presidency, great. But until that happens, Make the best choice of somebody that is going to protect your rights, to practice your religion, to practice free speech, to peaceably assemble, and worry about the rest of it in those proper settings like your congregation. So this actually just kind of pisses me off.
Well, you got to check out this. One of your fans here. Let's go way back to the beginning. I hope you're still here. I hope I didn't piss you off. But you're one of your followers. What is it? Gardner Earth Guy says, I'm 54, saved since 17, and never voted because government is the devil's kingdom. That's a take.
Well, that is definitely a take. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that take, but
That's crazy.
it's a necessary evil. We have to have some form of government, and we have to have some form, some way of running it. We can argue about what that looks like. We can figure out how big or how little the government has to be, but pretending that not involving ourselves means that it doesn't affect you is a little bit not great. I'm trying to find a nice way to say, like, that's just a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. It's pretty nuts.
Mr. Boulay in the Department of Numismatics says this is not the way. Yes, I agree. What are your thoughts, Grid One? And welcome, Grid One Motorsports / an unreasonable man on YouTube.
Thank you.
I know how much you love Ecamm Live.
It's pretty crazy overall, I think, the way this is kind of being spelled out. Do we actually believe those numbers? 100 million?
I do. Now this is all faith tradition, so this means that some number of Muslims and Hindus and et cetera, are planning on doing this. And now I have to believe when they say Christian, they don't mean Catholic or Protestant. I think they mean both. Even though there's pretty intense debate between the sects, the sect, not the sex. For whatever reason, pollsters always just lump us together, which is fine. I think there are people that are saved in a mass and in a church, and there are people that are riding the highway to hell in both places as well.
Well, I mean,
here, let's pull up the study.
I can't think of any reason. Yeah, let's do that. I can't think of any reason that you wouldn't want to be involved in your local government. That seems very strange to me.
So I'm going to try and scan this live, but this is the Cultural Research Center from the Arizona Christian University's 2024 pre-election research report number 1. And I guess they just put the findings as the title. So now if it was Arizona State, I would feel like there were some issues with the study. Oh, Arizona State. Talk about credentialing. If you went to Arizona State's law school, just go back and do better.
Isn't that where OB32 went to school?
Oh, I don't know.
He's very proud of it.
Arizona I have no idea.
It's Arizona something. I don't know what it is. He's very proud of it.
OB, I changed nothing. I changed nothing about my statement. And if you're proud of it, then good.
I think you should double down based on OB.
Everyone's entitled to their own wrong opinion. So there you go.
Especially him.
I don't know if we're going to find anything about the methodology here. Oh, my screen just went out. What? Well, that was weird. I just got redoed. Come on, screen. There we go. Yeah, my screen just went out. So clearly I have, you know what the problem is? I'm confident I know what the problem is. Grid, like I told you, we had the carpet cleaners today, and I left all my wires and stuff, and I guarantee my wires are hanging on by a thread after they...
You've got some moisture in there or something, because you seem to be a little choppy today as well.
Oh, no. Well, sorry, guys. I should have unplugged everything and replugged it back in just because it's been molested by the carpet cleaning machine.
True.
Let's see here. Election were held. It looks like this was raw survey data.
Okay.
Turnout projections, religious subgroup. Oh, look at this. Well, what are the percentages here? What?
I'm not sure this makes sense to me.
Yeah. No, how did they get the number of other faith traditions? Because the math
It's all,
ain't
first
math
of all,
in
it's
here.
all estimated. It's all estimated. So it's not like they did a poll and have 32 million people. So it's all estimated. It's percentage. Self-identified Christian, 66%. Okay. I mean, okay, I guess.
Yeah, definitely worth looking into the study more. Almost half non-voters believe in the election outcome was rigged.
Almost half of the non-voters, 48%, were deterred by the belief that the election outcome will be rigged or by not knowing. What's our sample size? What's our sample size on this?
Don't know. That would probably be up here.
N equals 3,000 voting age adults. Okay, so they sampled 3,000 people, and 1,500 of them said that they believe that the election will be rigged. Is that am I reading that properly?
Yep.
You
Well,
shrank it down. So.
We just talked about my math skills like a couple hours ago, Grid.
Yes, we did. We did indeed do that.
I say close enough. I mean, because 1,500 would be half. So what? 1,400,
I mean,
1,450.
I have to be honest. This is garbage. 3,000 is not a very good sample size. First of all, nationally,
I don't know. I wouldn't. 3,000 is a totally fine sample size. They're not for
a city. For a city of 30,000 people, maybe, but of a country. Come on, man. This is Bidenomics right here. What are we doing? What kind of math are we using today? 3,000 people.
I think it's pretty standard practice. They did.
You think so?
3,000.
I can't.
3,000 people. I think they extrapolate out a lot of studies from.
Well, sure.
Even
I know,
groups smaller than 3,000.
Yeah, that's why I don't believe any of the studies, because they're always a very small sample size, and they're in generic. Now, what I am curious about, and you kind of scrolled by it there. Let me.
Oh.
I have to look this up on my own.
Here, I'll drop it in the
chat. I will say that I did not do very well in statistics. Okay, I'll just be bluntly honest. I took that course because I had to, and for no other reason. So I kind of suck at it.
Adam, and I am too. Looking at the chat, it's just hard for me to read because I'm black. And Samantha is supposed to be.
He only knows 18 of the letters. He only made it to 18 of the letters. He has to guess the others. Come on.
18, that's what, 75%?
It's a little over 75%. You know?
Democrats think that black people are so stupid. It makes me laugh. It makes me laugh all the time. I'm like, you really think that we're that stupid? I mean, it's like, whatever. I will say this. Thomas Howell says this all the time. Like most Americans, I have never met a pollster. I've never met anyone who participated in any poll anywhere. People who get polled are kind of like Bigfoot. Like people swear that they know somebody.
Right, so I gotta be honest. I was outside one day.
Oh,
and
gosh.
Somebody came up to me. I was doing my yard work. Somebody came up to me. They had a clipboard. I thought they were going to sell me an alarm system, so I was all set to run them off when they said, "I'm here taking a poll. Who are you going to vote for in the Republican primary? DeSantis, Trump, so on and so forth." And I'm like, "Trump, obviously." And they're like, "Okay, thank you," and they went on about their day. Like it was a one question poll. So I have been polled. In my own yard, but
I've been
Just
a
the one time.
pollster. I've gone around and conducted polls, so I know that some people with those stupid books. All right, Samantha, you get the last word about Chris. Now that you've calmed
No,
down, you were getting a little
I mean,
upset there.
no. And I mean, it's silly to me because obviously the government is going to affect you whether you vote or not, and
Yes.
it does. I mean, I do see a lot of people of, some kind of Christian faith choosing to back out because they don't like who these people are as people. And I just think we need to be able to make the distinction and say, just because I'm voting for Trump doesn't mean that I condone all of his life choices or that I love everything he does as a person. Obviously, I wish we had the level of morality that should be in the kind of people, in the kind of person that runs the United States of America. But that's not a realistic expectation. And we need to look at the things that are important. Am I still going to be able to go to church? Am I going to be able to teach my kids the things that I believe are true and right and good? Am I going to be able to do these things publicly without consequence? Focusing on the things that matter. That's what we need to be voting on. And I again, people just need to separate people from policy and vote based on that.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I had some other words for Gardner, but, I guess they're not here anymore, so I'll just let it go. But what I said in the beginning is still, that sentiment is at odds with Jesus's own words. It really is. Anyway, what is going on in the chat tonight? Did I miss, is there like a gay party or something that I missed? There's a lot of weirdness.
Okay.
There is a lot of weirdness going on. We need a hand check or a keyboard check or something.
Yeah. It's just Jack.
What kind of
and
weirdness?
Imperious.
I can't see the chat. What kind of weirdness is going on?
And he means no harm. Jack doesn't mean any harm.
Okay, just another Canadian. You're writing some weird stuff. It's funny. Seriously, Shelby, thanks for deleting some of those, but I still see them all in eCam, so I can read them. No one is giving me a hug except for my immediate family, so we'll just cut that off at the pass. Imperious, I have lovely eyes. I've been told that often, so thank you, I guess. There's just some weird. There's some weird simp juice out there tonight. So anyway, I'm really almost good.
It's really Jack, just another Canadian. He means well. He can just kind of get rolling and just and kind of go off on weird tangents and that sort of thing.
Well, we had a very long conversation about breast on your show earlier, so I don't know. I don't know. We did. You and I and what's her face? Kat
was in the chat earlier. She should come up. And I'm trying to get you some more viewers here. So
Gimpy, welcome to the party, my friend. You should call in. The link is up there. Yeah. And just so we don't have random craziness with call in, it'd really kind of be the ideal if you had a thought to share or if you had a question and a camera. Yes. But if you had a thought on something that we've already addressed, all of Samantha's awesomeness, because 2 of the 3 stories, which I was very late in putting the stories in, but her opinions absolutely crushed. As they always do. Definitely. Oh, now's the time to hit the button. Go subscribe to Outspoken Samantha if you haven't already. The link is right below here. After we're done, Grid's channels will be linked up as well. That's an Unreasonable Man over on the tubes. And Samantha's on everything, just about, I guess. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you type in Outspoken Samantha, you're going to find the right one. But yeah, it'd really kind of be best if you have a thought continuing on conversation we've already had, or if you have a question for us, and no weird gay stuff, which means the first person that calls is going to say something weird and gay. But anyway, any other thoughts?
I don't know.
No, huh?
What are you guys doing this weekend?
Working.
You're working on the weekend? Oh gosh, it's so beautiful out.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're going camping. We're doing father-son camping trip. And
So my
No.
son is they have every year in Bell Buckle where my son goes to school, they have a huge like festival craft fair kind of thing where you just it's an event. It's week long. I think it's weekend long at least. And so his scout troop is parking cars at his school, and they split the money with the school that they get for parking. So works out pretty good for them, and they use it. Obviously they use that money to fund their trips. So he's doing that this weekend, and they camp on the grounds, and it's a good time. And of course, he goes to school there, so it's really funny for him to be camping on campus. It's very funny, and I don't know what I'm going to do this weekend. I have obviously I have a show tomorrow night and Saturday night, and I don't know. We'll see. There's always something to get into, but not work per se. I'm not gonna. I might work on my airplane a little bit. I can get some stuff done while I don't have a kid around, so it'll be fun.
Adam Ant says, "You're telling me 1 in 3 people are not voting? I call BS." Yeah, it might. It might just be total cap. It might be the Christian broadcasters out there crying, sky is falling. I will say Adam Ants talked to me into something because I was, he's talking me into bringing both bourbon and some cigars out to the mountain this weekend. I think that's a recipe for a good time. Even though I guess technically you're not supposed to be drinking bourbon out camping, but back to the licenses. I'm an American. I do what I want. Dang it. I'm my own first responder. If I get my butt into a situation, if I can't get myself out of it, then I deserve to die.
Also, yes.
Awesome.
I'm Ron Swanson 1,000% on that. Like, yeah. Anyway, I should make up some symbols. He's got those like symbols. He says the man who would kill me will know what this means, and like no one can. Gimpy says, if you are near Baltimore, come check out the Inform Power Voter series. Tomorrow I'm working a half-ish day, and then I'm getting the heck out of here. All right, seriously, Shelby, before you come up, there's no swearing at all. If they're swearing, then you've got to pay $5 swear jar to get back. So that's what. Okay, let me try and freaking do this again. Here we go. Whoa. How did that happen? Oh. Oh gosh. Are you guys muted?
Actually, I didn't come up. I just was testing the link because James was having a problem, so I wanted to test the link.
Cool.
All right, I'm leaving now. I know it works.
Well, it works.
This is something that annoys me. Why does it leave that blank spot? That's so weird.
I don't know.
I still like Ecamm. I think it's a lot cooler capability wise than StreamYard.
Well, I think I have hit my limit for the evening, so I am going to log off while you guys continue with your chat.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Outspoken Samantha. Guys, like, share, subscribe, check out her content. Honestly, if you've not watched it, you're missing out. Her videos are so good. And I don't know how long you've been creating, but they're literally getting better. Just like Sean Cannell says, just 1% better every video. Samantha is at least 1% better, but I'm not a simp. People know it's hard. It's hard to get a compliment out of me. People who know me personally.
It's too bad you weren't on last night when we had Tim on from the Jan Sixer. It's too bad you weren't.
Yeah, that would have been an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
will
he
have
was.
to catch.
I'm trying to get him on this weekend, but he's really hard to get a hold of through the week because of his work schedule and whatnot. So for me, anyway. So
Yeah. Well, next
it
time
would
for
be
sure.
good.
That would be interesting. Yeah. Well, no, I appreciate the compliments on the content. I have a couple of things that have already been created. So hopefully I'm getting 2 more videos out by Sunday. It's just nonstop, just trying to get it out there. There's too many things. I can't ignore anything. So I have to create a video for every single thing that comes up, apparently. But I'm glad you guys enjoy it. Please go subscribe to my channel. I love coming on and talking to you guys. So enjoy the rest of the evening.
Awesome. Thanks, Samantha. Have a good night.
All right. Have a
Have
good
a good
night.
night.
All right. Imperious. Man, I'm almost, I don't even know what you're on tonight, man.
Good, good. Now that the woman's out of here, I can have some fun. Joe, Grandpa Grid and you guys just make a sexy little couple up here. I just wanted to let you guys know that. Come on, Joe, you gotta have a little sense of humor, bud. Come on. Yeah. Look at Grid knows. Grid.
I think any couple that I'm a part of is a sexy couple.
Okay, there you go. See, come on, Joe, you gotta have a little fun. No, I'm in a great mood, dude. My Dodgers are winning. We're up 5-2 right now. We're gonna go up 3-1 after tonight. We might even end it by the end of the week. We might even not have to come back home. So that'll be a great week for us. Great week for us.
Where is Glenn? Glenn, where are you at, man? He's offline on Discord.
Glenn is doing his show right now.
Oh.
Wow, Joe,
Glenn
look at
is
that. Not
live.
even entertained to speak with me anymore. Just totally dismissive, Joe.
What are you talking about?
Look at this. Look at this. Treating me like Linwood. Come on, man.
Dude, I would never. Just I'm reading. I'm trying to catch up on comments, so not no disrespect, Imperious.
Oh my God, you're breaking my heart. You're breaking my balls here, Hans. Come on, man.
Don't be drunk in front of Kevin.
So in regards to couple of the topics, first of all, voting is a civic duty for Catholics. In the Catechism, it says you have to do it. You're required to vote. So I doubt it's that low of a number. What did they say in regards to Catholics? What did they say the number was? Like 19% don't vote, I think it said, right?
Are planning to abstain from this election. 17% of... Well, it said 62% don't vote in the general estimated 62% of the estimated 19 million. This has got to be an Arizona number, because there are way more Catholic Americans. Yeah.
Well, what? Okay, hold. Maybe I'm reading the chart wrong. But it's saying that. But is it saying that? Okay, so it's saying right there that 42% of Catholics don't turn out. Is that what they're saying? Or am I reading that wrong?
Yep, that's what they're saying. They're saying an estimated 42% of Catholics.
That's odd. Because I know most do. I mean, maybe if they're putting in like illegal immigrants that can't vote, maybe. But like, I mean, I find that just a lot. I mean, I would think it would be up at the 70% would. So that's just a low number. Because I remember when I took my political science course in college, what was his name? Andrew Breitbart came into one of our classes and talked about like voting demographics. And he talked about how, like, for the conservative side, he made, like, we had a big old auditorium, like 350 kids in the class. And, he made people raise their hand. He'd call out groups. And, like, the first group he called out for conservatives, who's Catholic? And, like, I think it was 7 or 8 of us in the class. And he said, you are the most reliable and consistent voting bloc for conservative voters. And that's because, like, we're required to do it, and we're required to vote for, like, pro-life issues. Like every week in at the end of the usually at the end of homily, or at some point in mass, like you ask for protection for the unborn. You know what I mean? And that's why it's a civic duty. And so and that's why I say that you cannot be Catholic and vote for any kind of like liberal ideology like that. So it just seems like a low number. But I mean, I guess if it's like, it might be, dude. I don't know, man, because I guess young people. I mean, what are the numbers of young people that actually vote? It's got to be in like the 20%, maybe. Like, I bet it's a lot of like that's what's dragging it down.
Well, I mean, I know that the stats on young people have been growing. I don't know how high, but they've been growing.
They do, but they say they do. But if you look at like actual trends, I'd love to see a bar trend or a bar graph just on like what the actual percentages of the youth of people like 18 to 22 that have voted in like the last 5 presidential elections. I bet it would be like a consistent like 20 to 26%.
Asked in a couple of AI tools what the lowdown is with this study.
Joe, you should make your voice the AI voice that talks back. You have that sultry voice,
Sultry? Wouldn't have been what I...
So it's my voice has never been described as sultry, nasally and annoying, high pitched. Oh. Dang it, Imperius.
Come on, man. Why do you think I said it?
All right. So ChatGPT is saying the major potential flaws are the self-reported data. Obviously, self-reported data is some of the worst data out there.
Okay.
Grid, it agrees with you. The sampling limitations. While it uses a mixed mode survey, the sampling is fully representative of voting demographic, younger or less religious voters. Honestly, this isn't super salient except for that first point about self-reported data being some of the worst data out there.
Yeah, that's interesting that they did self-reporting and didn't actually look at like the census and go reporting through the census.
They never do when it comes to religion, man. They never do. Every time they talk religion, it's always self-reported. It's just like the same numbers, like more Christians than divorce than any other religion. Well, that's because people who went to church twice when they were 8 will write Christian in their religion.
If you look at actual like faithful religious people that go to mass like every week, it's like divorce is at like the teen
and survey the church.
It's like the teens. You know what I mean? Like if it's a married couple that goes to like mass every week, I think it's like 18% do like divorce or something like that.
I think
it's just everyone.
That. Yeah, it's like super.
I believe it. Yeah. Oh, and it's because you're just automatically, if you're an American, I'm Christian, whatever. You know what I mean? It's just you just state you are.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean that's why, and honestly, that's why I have such a problem. To be honest with you, that's why I have such a problem with this. These kind of figures is, I rarely run across stats that have any like density size, have proper data collection, especially social engineering stats. And
I thought I read that N was 1,000. I didn't think it was 3,500, Joe. I thought below, when you were going down and scrolling, I read below a chart, it said N equals 1,000.
That was the other chart. This one N is 3,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was.
3,000 doesn't seem under. Like, it is a limitation, but that's kind of like the polling of what you get. I guess what they're saying is there's too many subcategories to pull that small of an amount. If it was like a binary decision, like like voting for Kamala versus Trump, I think it would be fine. But because of so much of subcategories they're putting there, I think you probably are required to have a larger sample size.
Yeah, I think that. That very well could be it. I think though
you probably want around like 10,000 for something like that, because there's how many categories are there, Joe? They said Christian, what were they? How many, 6 or 7 categories there?
A lot.
Oh, there's more than that. Yeah. That's tough. That's and not just that, but do we know the actual question? Can I get the verbatim questions, or how did they ask? What did they do?
I bet the questions are down here.
I want to know how the test was conducted. Like, what was the process?
I mean,
Like, were they
that's
phone
the
call?
problem.
Were they in person? Were they what was the?
Here we go. Methodology research is
There we go.
Is this big enough?
Yeah.
No, it's fine. Just read it off. It's cool. Don't worry about it. I'm not. I mean, I'm pretty convinced that this is this is
Yeah,
like
you're
a
good.
lot
I
of
can
the
see it.
This is
I
like a
like
lot of the other-
the AI assistant for PDF here had some more salient feedback. It's saying this point number 2 is very well reasoned. Overstated voting intent. Survey respondents often overstate their likelihood to vote, which the study attempts to correct with an algorithm, which you can see that method here. However, the adjustment may still not fully account for the discrepancy. I agree that's a very difficult thing to overcome. The methodology says the research was comprised of 2 related surveys conducted by the Cultural Research Center at Arizona Christian University. The first survey was administered to a national sample of adults who self-identified as Christian and attended church services at least once a month. That was 2,000 qualified adults. So they did a telephone survey of
It's a
which
telephone survey. That's
of which they
of
found 2,000
self-reported
of
people.
yeah.
And so one of
Self-reported
the
people.
things about-
And a telephone survey is the worst because it's not that it's the people that actually the sample size of people who actually answer a telephone survey is a very, very specific group of people. It's usually people that are college educated, well off, and have the time and interest to do those surveys. Very, very few normal,
they just don't care
average,
about you.
middle class
Right.
people answer and do those surveys. Like that's a norm. Like maybe that's it's just an odd survey. But I mean,
Ants
let's
got
just
the
take it at
answer.
face value.
Adam Ants got the answer. He says the FBI must have been compiling the data. Probably.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were infiltrating the Catholic churches, so.
Yeah. So I don't know. So one of the things, one of my favorite classes, and when I took psychology in college, one of the favorite courses I had was the experimental psychology and the testing and all of that, because anything can be a psychological experiment, and just the way that you set it up predisposes people to answer or perform in a specific way, right? And so one of my problems with most surveys is they're really not binary, yes, A or B, no, right? Like they're just not that. There's like it leads you in one direction or the other, especially if you're just not paying that much attention and you just want to you're just like click, 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 click,
Yeah.
And so I have a real problem with surveys. I don't know that any of them have been, especially since they become so onerous and so odorous with most people. Most people would rather run away than even talk to someone about a survey, right? And because there's so much negative connotations to it these days that,
What's your angle? Who's going to be
on
like, my lawn if I answer this question wrong?
Right. How are you leading me? And, and I don't have time to figure this out. I just don't want to deal with it. I'm just going to ignore you, or I'm just going to check all A, just go down at A, and then the last one hit B or something, just to be cool. But, so I don't know, man. I think that, I think surveys should have a limited amount of usefulness because, and I agree, shockingly, with Simperius that the people that will respond to a survey are going to answer they want to answer in a very specific way. They're predetermined, and they're just chomping at the bit to tell you what they think. And, it is what it is. So I don't know. But it's an interesting thing how they they use these surveys to, in a large amount of what seems like good, solid science, to give a figure that I think is just ridiculous. Like 30 million. How did they come up with that? Initially, I thought that they had actually like polled churches, right? Like gone to churches and had it sitting there at the back, or maybe, somewhere where they could privately say, hey, yeah, I'm voting, or hey, no, I'm not. But a phone poll is literally the most disingenuous way I can think of doing this. Like I
because
can't
it's
even.
such a low effort thing.
Low
Like, and
effort.
most
I think it was
people
high
still
effort
don't want to
first.
do it. That's the thing. Most people still don't want to do it. You have to question the people that actually want to do those phone interviews.
Yeah.
The very, very, very niche demographic that people that want to sit there and do it. It's people that are number one, very intent on being politically active. You know what I mean? Like the number one.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's just a preliminary
I
evaluation.
apologize that I'm calling into question your data. I apologize because it seems a
It's
very
not
negative,
not my data. Yeah.
It seems a very negative way of talking about it, but
The
I
whole
just
thing
can't
could
see.
be.
All I have to say, Joe, is if an Asian didn't put together the data, I don't trust it.
Hey, there's a lot of.
And there he is. There he is.
There's a lot to that. This could be, and we didn't get to talk about it during the normal hour. And maybe this is hinting at, because this does look like bullcrap data, this could be a psyop to dissuade Christians from voting, because people want to be on the team doing the normal thing. And it's, oh crap, if 8 out of 10 Christians aren't voting, I'm a Christian. Am I not supposed to be voting? People want to assimilate to whatever the Joneses are doing.
The norm. Yeah, whatever the norm is.
Can I ask you a question?
Thing. Go ahead. Sorry.
Are your finances impeccable because of your wife?
No, they're impeccable because of me.
No, that's a damn lie, Grit. That's a damn lie.
So, to be honest with you, my wife, I do all of the like finances for the most part, especially the buying and selling of stuff. She doesn't really get that involved with it. To be honest, I part of that is it's just her nature is she just doesn't understand very specific things, and she just doesn't want to be bothered to learn. So since we've been married, it's always been that way. But if she does take over, then yeah, they'll be absolutely ridiculous, because I mean, she was an auditor, for a while. She's been investment banking forever. She's literally one of the jobs that she really liked and she was really good at, that she had early on, when she was on the buy side, was going in and verifying that all of the assets a company said they actually had, and all of the numbers of all of the revenue and all of that actually made sense. And she was really good at it. So yeah, I mean, if she ever decided one day, just like, hey, I'm going to run things now, I'd be like, yep, sure, go right ahead, make it happen. And we would literally have the cleanest books ever. So
I've missed some bangers on Rumble. This is going way back to Black America, but Adam Ant says CT says it all the time. Black culture needs to shift away from glorifying rappers and have role models like strong business leaders and entrepreneurs. And 100% agree.
I'm not old enough to remember that, but I am old enough to have read about how there were strong Black businessmen in communities, and to be honest with you, the 50s and 60s is what destroyed all of that. I honestly,
on purpose.
I didn't realize this until I had to do some reading about it, but and I hit Linwood and Afro Nerd with this all the time. As a community, the Black community was way better off in the 40s and 30s and 20s than they are today, really. They had strong communities, they had central communities, they had their own schools, they had their own banks, they had their own businesses, and they really didn't need a lot from anyone. They didn't rely on social programs, they didn't rely on handouts. They had very low crime. I was, and the reason that I kind of understand this is because one of my grandfather's friends, who was born in I think he was born in 1908, I think. Of course, he's long passed, but he was telling me that when he was a young man in the 40s, and during World War II, immediately after World War II, that anybody could walk down the street in his black neighborhood at any time of night and be perfectly safe. He's like, any grandma, any aunt, any new bride could walk down the street, and if she needed help with her groceries, there'd be a young man there to help her out, right? And all of that changed when they started segregating and doing all of the kind of nonsense in the 50s and 60s. So I think honestly the black people have a reason to be angry with white people, but it's not the reason that they think, so I don't know. That was a bummer, I guess. Kind of took the mood down a little bit. Sorry about that.
I think Arma 15.
Come on, man.
Sorry about that. I don't mean
Arma
to kill
15
the mood,
is a little behind. I think Arma 15 started watching the show maybe 40 or 60 minutes behind over on Samantha's channel, but some real fire comments out here. Yeah, 40,000 plus annual motor vehicle fatalities with driver's licenses issued in 50 states. You're not free if you need, what does it say? No one is free if you need the government's permission slips. I am so anti-license, business license, hunting license. How dare the government institute itself as the arbiters of truth over all professions? If you discovered a new energy source, totally unknown right now, this moment, if you discovered a new energy source, as soon as you filed for patents, blah, 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 Big Daddy government would create an agency and come over top and say, hey, we're actually in charge of this. Bull crap, you are.
You're absolutely right.
I agree theoretically, but you need social dividers to exclude people. You need exclusion. That's the thing.
But the market excludes people, Imperious. If you're an attorney, if you were an unlicensed attorney, if attorneys didn't have licenses, your reputation would precede you. That is what edges you out of the market.
Yeah, but then you're excluding human issues there, though, because usually, I'm sorry to say, but the best attorneys never advertise. But they don't have as much business as the people that do. And the people that do are usually...
I'm going to agree with Joe. I'm going to agree with Joe because prior to any kind of attorney licensing or the bar or anything like that, prior to any of that, if you were an attorney or a dentist or whatever, and you hung out your shingle, right? You only got business because of recommendations. And there were professional societies, right? That actually would come and tear down your shingle.
Yep.
If you didn't uphold to specific standards.
They'd run you out of town on a rail.
Right. And this is why the government...
No, and I agree theoretically, but in a society this big with 400 million people, it's not going to happen.
That doesn't matter. Trash attorneys in California mean nothing in Tennessee. Here's Imperious, I know you know better. What sets good attorneys apart is they win. Good attorneys win, period. Trash attorneys lose.
No, you don't need to win anymore. That's what I'm trying to say. This system is so big now. The market is so big that you don't even have to perform as much anymore.
He's right about that. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, Imperious. Here, calm down. Just I know.
I'm just saying the markets, all markets nowadays are so artificially subsidized now that you can't just say the market.
That's because of the government.
But it's not necessarily the government. It's the desire of the people to want it that way.
Yeah, but a guy who goes
out. No, I think I would suggest it's more that people want it that way. People want markets oversaturated because it makes it easier for the consumer. Like, that's the thing. If you have an oversaturated market, okay, where everything is overinsured, everything is overly, how would you say? You have 500 million 7-Elevens, okay, and it makes it so convenient for the fat and happy Americans. That's exactly what they want. We want that. We ask for the government to do these things. That's the thing. The government very rarely, if you listen, most politicians, even the most corrupt Democrat ones, tell you in their elections what they're going to do. Letitia James, in her election, she said, I'm going to prosecute Trump. That is what I will do if you elect me.
That's not always true. This is how building codes.
I can allow that things like that happen, but when there were professional organizations that you prescribed to, and if you didn't, they ruined your life. The Explorers Club in England is a perfect example.
Okay. I agree. But there has to be social dividers. For example, nowadays, if you get a business loan,
those are the dividers you speak of. Is that if you want to become a silversmith, you have to go through that. If you want to be an electrician, you have to become a journeyman. And what's really ended up happening, Imperius, is people are able to bypass the apprentice, journeyman, master kind of certification, which you're talking about, that hierarchy. They're able to bypass that by just going out and taking a test. I, who have no intention of actually building a house ever again in my life with my own two hands, I'm about to get my contractor's license so that I can build houses on some property I own as a contractor. Now, that's perfectly legal for me to do. But if there was a contractors association or guild, however you want to look at it, I wouldn't be able to do that because when I went to them and said, I built some houses when I was in college. I did carpentry. I did a little bit, not really good with the roofing, but I can, electrical I'm good at. And I can do a little bit of trim work. They'd be like, yeah, okay, but you can't we can't give you a contractor license. We're not going to do it. But the government will, because the government will always subsidize that. That's the problem is that the government has insinuated itself into every facet of our lives with some control.
And always under the auspice of keeping you safe. Well, they know what's better.
I agree. But remember, let's not fool ourselves, though. Let's not fool ourselves, guys. It's what the majority of people want.
But they're also actively manipulated by government to that end. Like me, I would like for my 12 or 14-year-old to drive, but government says that's not safe. We care more about your children than you do. We know what's best, and now that we have to ask permission to do things we were always allowed to do.
But again, I agree theoretically, but that's the problem again. Your voice is going to be drowned out by the larger group of people that are more concerned with their more immediate needs. I'm not talking about like a political issue. I'm not talking politically about this.
Well, here's a problem I have, though, is that the government has no business, and what we continuously do is we cede our order of protection or our levels of protection to the government because the government tells you that you can't do it. And I'm going to give you a perfect example of that. We keep trying to protect kids in schools. Last year, there were 6 children killed in school shootings. There were 92 children killed in crosswalks at schools. 80% of those were by women driving. If we just go by the numbers, then women shouldn't drive and they shouldn't drive at school.
I don't mean to laugh, but that's too funny.
I mean, if the government wants to keep us safe, then please, God, we can no longer have women drivers.
But Grid, okay, but that again leads back to what I was saying, that human element, where human beings are more fearful of the more abstract or the more uncontrolled kind of Correct.
Because the
And
government puts it in your head to be so.
Well, I think
The
it's
government's
again. I
never
think
gonna
it's
tell
people
you.
in general. I think
You will have to dig like I did. You will have to dig for a full hour to find that statistic that 92 children were killed in crosswalks by, and that 80% of the drivers were women. You'll spend all day finding that information, but if you want to find out how many kids were eliminated in school shootings, that's easy. Why? Because the government has a vested interest in pushing that specific narrative.
But is it all? But it could also be
can't
that
hear
there's
what
the. Could it also be though,
up?
Grid, that it is necessary?
Yeah,
am I breaking up? Hold on.
Yeah, you might need to kill your mic and bring it back or refresh or something. I couldn't control my laughter when you said you kind of let that out, all by women drivers. Just like, oh my god.
80%. It's 80%, right?
Oh, that's hilarious.
It's 80% of women drivers, and I think it's 80% of women drivers, and I think I forget what the percentage is in SUVs. So by statistics, if we want to play statistics, then what we shouldn't be worried about kids bringing guns to school. We should be worried about moms dropping kids off at school.
Yep.
Right? Like that's if the government really wants to help us, that's what they have to do. But they're never, that's not a good narrative.
Sorry,
right?
is that better? Sorry about that.
That is so much better.
I apologize. Yeah, I guess I don't know. I guess I had to reconnect. No, what I'm saying is that I don't think it's necessarily just the government. It's the government giving the people what they desire. Remember, people they're obsessed with knowing these odd, abnormal events that scare them. The reason why a crash in an airplane is so world news is because people are fascinated and scared by the most abstract, least the lowest odds type of death, because they're the types of death that people don't feel they have control over. You're much more likely to die on the way to work, but people feel, oh, I'm behind the wheel. I can move out of the way. I can do all this. You know what I mean? So there's issues there. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't think necessarily it's just, oh, we can go by this or that. You got to look at what human beings have tendencies to do as well. Like that's all I'm saying.
I totally get it. I totally understand your point. I reject that is a good sound reasoning behind why we have the licensing and the permission slips and everything else that the government puts on us.
I'm not saying you need a necessary license. I'm saying that we have decided in society.
Did you just cut out?
That they're like, no,
he's been
I should be there
again. Yeah, I don't know.
Am I cutting out again?
That's weird.
I think part of it's Rumble.
Here, I'm sending myself a text.
It's not me.
I got boom. There we go.
I have like 100.
Yeah,
megs
your
a second.
audio just. Oh wait, no. Did it just cut out in my ears? Because it says. Wow. Why am I muted?
You're not muted. I can hear you. It's just
in my ears I was muted. Oh, I must have hit the keyboard shortcut.
It says I have 100 megs a second on my connection.
I think it's just the way that all of the stuff kind of works together, but it's fine. It's the permission slip from the government that I have a problem with, right? Like
I'm not saying that it necessarily needs to be from the government. I'm saying that in general
they have no right or reason to do so, and they're the worst possible authority to do so, right? I would much rather, if I was an electrician, I would rather have a card from electrical engineering group than the stupid test I take, for $500 down at the courthouse or wherever.
I get it, but I'm saying there has to be I got you. I hear you. Can you hear me or no?
Yeah, okay, you're much better now.
No, what I'm saying is, look, people have decided that they'd rather have the government do it than a group of experts in a field. And that's the reason we have there has to
Right.
be a
Well,
divider. Now, the only two options I see are either a group of experts in the field somebody's trying to get in, as in, like, you know, in the old days, to be a surgeon or a doctor, you had to perform in front of other doctors that were, you know what I mean? And then they would say, okay, you're ready.
yeah, but
Now, I don't have a
but it's the thing is, though, is you keep saying people have decided this, but people have decided this because the government said this is what needs to happen, and the people either didn't fight against it or they were led down the path to it. This is the NFA is a perfect example, where we there's no
Yep.
reason for those laws to exist, and yet they do. The Parks and Recreation Act that established all the federal parks, another great example of being
but
led
it's
down
not
a path
always,
that
again,
really
a lot of the
didn't need to
programs that
be
you're
led
talking
down.
about. No, but a lot of the
Sorry?
programs that you're talking about, a lot of the programs that you're talking about were not initiated or propagated by the government. They were propagated by special interest groups of other citizens.
Yeah,
For
Teddy
example,
Roosevelt
MAD.
literally
There were no
waved his magic wand and said, "Here,
driving
the
laws.
National Park Services in
Imperious,
effect," right?
Imperious, I know you are too. I hate it when people say this to me. You are too intelligent to not know the flaws in what you're saying.
In the argument that you're making.
No,
When
I
special
genuinely-
interest when special interest groups do things, they're doing it at the behest of the government, because the rich and powerful are already powerful, but the usurpation that constantly comes, sometimes it's us shirking responsibility, but often it's usurpation. It's constant and it's one direction. It's from us to the government. It's our authority, our autonomy going to the government. Yeah. And that's not because of Mothers Against Drunk Driving or other special interest groups. It's because the government is interested. The Constitution works so long as Larry Arnn demonstrates this brilliantly in Hillsdale College's Constitution 101. Or maybe the Federalist 51, I forget which lecture it was. He said, this checks and balances works if the government has the means, which they have the means, the Constitution gives it to them, but they have to have the interest to check each other. And that is nullified by, wait a minute, what if we get power and we can't come out and say we want power? We need it to be concerned moms and concerned citizens that are, there used to be building codes for buildings, and it became personal residences. So now that you or I or Grid can't build a closet in our home without Big Daddy government's permission, and they said it's for safety. They wait until there's a crisis and a second floor collapses and kills little Timmy, and then they say we need to protect your little Timmy. You need our permit to build. It's total bullcrap, dude.
Yeah, and specifically...
No, you're taking a chicken and the egg argument. No, I don't agree with that.
No, hold on.
If the government is a... Go ahead.
Let me tell you the reason why I picked the NFA and the Park Services Act specifically, because they were never voted on by the populace. They were literally waved into being by politicians. Teddy Roosevelt literally created the National Park
Service,
just created it. Just said, this is what's going to happen, period. And it happened. He did that. Like, there was no vote. There was never a line item. There was never it was never put out to Congress. Congress didn't create the National Park Service Act. Teddy Roosevelt just said, this is the way it's going to be. And that's the way it is to this day. Right. And now it's been reinforced by congressional acts. That's true. But in the beginning, it was just, this is going to happen. And everybody said, yeah, it sounds like a great idea. Sure, we'll go along with it. And the NFA was literally, Congress sat down one day and said, this is what's going to happen. There was literally no public information, no hue and cry. Nobody even knew it was happening until it happened. Literally, there were people that were still selling now illegal firearms for months afterwards, because we didn't have the internet back then, and it took a little while for people to figure it out. And so I picked those two specifically to show how the government actually works. It's not the people demand this.
Okay.
It's that it's just like driver's licenses. Driver's licenses were originally just to show that you had passed a test to operate a vehicle within city limits. That was the only reason they existed, right? And then that was expanded to, well, now a driver's license shows that you've passed a test. Now you can operate it with anywhere in the state, right? We've standardized the test and anywhere in the state, and now and all the states are going to work together on this. And now they've incrementally. Your driver's license is your ID. You have to, it is used for virtually every aspect of your life. If you have to produce it upon demand. That used to not be a thing. So, I mean, it's always incremental. It never goes backwards, and it should. I mean, realistically, I'm solidly in Joe's camp here. Solid.
I mean, okay, that's fine, but let me. Okay, can I now respond? Jesus, for 15 minutes, I've heard rambling. First of all, this Teddy Roosevelt did not just wave a magic wand. No, he didn't. In 1864, Congress passed a law to protect the Yosemite Valley. Congress then passed budgetary expansions to allow Teddy Roosevelt to develop the Department of the Interior, to allow for protections of the Park Service. It developed another executive agency.
There was no public cry. There was no public influence in that. It was just.
Well, there was. No, absolutely there was at a time. No. That's the reason it was done, was because at the time there was a public outcry for the national parks and to preserve things. That's exactly why he did it.
I'm gonna go back and reread because and I read a lot about this because I thought it was a very shitty thing. I really admire Roosevelt, but that was one of the shitty things I thought that he did was just to create.
But it's not. What I'm saying is, you may not agree, but it didn't just come out of nowhere. He didn't just pull it out of the hat. And then in 1916, Congress enumerated it with a federal law for all national parks. No,
Imperious, can I ask you a question?
Yes,
and you can continue with your. What safeguard do the people have from the what is that sound? Is there someone in the back?
Somebody's
or something?
bleeding over. It's not me. I've got everything muted.
What safeguard?
I don't have anything on, so I'm sorry. Am I lagging again, or is it echoing
you're
or
good.
something?
You're good. It might even be. It almost sounds like there's like another call or something. Like we're getting someone's signal from something else is bleeding in to some. Anyway,
like a different call is like merging or something.
Yeah, but what safeguard do the people have? Could the people presumably have from restricting the government from making some burdensome permit or license requirements? Yeah, exactly. Numismatics. It's the NSA, Mr. Boulay. That's not supposed to rhyme. But what safeguards do we have? What can the people do? Because like Grid demonstrated, it only marches one direction. It is never scaled back. We only add laws. We never remove. We never rescind. We never scale back. The dial just goes up and up and up and up. So what safeguard do the American people have, or could the American people have, to stop the government from regulating something very near and dear to anyone by saying that there is now a permit or licensure requirement?
But that's the point. Like you're not okay. Let me first say,
like we need to get a permit to protest, and protest is a human right.
In a democracy, it will always march toward authoritarianism, because human beings, as a country becomes more wealthy and becomes more decadent, it becomes more reliant on the government to do what the people had done before. It will always march that way in a democracy because human nature is to always take the easy way out. That is just what we are. Because of that, we will always march toward more, because innately people have hypervigilance. Okay? We don't just get out of our mind of looking for danger. We've been that way forever. Okay? We will continue to look for dangers, but instead, what we perceive as dangers nowadays are not dangers anymore, because we've created an environment that eliminates most dangers.
Yeah,
But it
I
doesn't change what we
disagree
are.
whole cloth. I think the government is becoming increasingly dangerous.
How
Yes.
can the government be dangerous when it's a mechanism of people? It is just a mechanism. It's the
Okay, I got
government
that.
doesn't have a mind. It's not an abstract creature. It is a
But it
conglomerate of
is.
human
Hold on,
beings.
but it absolutely is, because there are no term limits, because these people go there for life.
But it
They
doesn't
work
make it an
together.
entity. It's not an entity. It is a
How is it
conglomerate
not
of
an
people.
entity? It's just a hive mind, dude. It's just it
There's
drives
no
towards the same purpose. Even though look, it's not. I am not afraid of Joe Mobley voting in more taxes. I'm not even afraid of my goofball leftist neighbor actually voting for more taxes. I'm very concerned about the government just deciding that the new tax needs to be 28% instead of 23%, and I now have to live by it because that's the law. And just
And the question is, what's the safeguard? What's to stop the government from doing exactly what you're saying?
And just remember, Mr. Boulay loves to talk about this. Remember when they confiscated gold? They literally made it illegal to own gold. Do you not remember that? Well, I don't remember it because I wasn't alive. I don't know that I was even alive. But
and alcohol and so many. But the gold was wild.
Now, and it's very, very hard to go back. I understand your point 100%.
Hold on, I gotta ask. I gotta ask. Was there a wild public outcry to ban gold?
There was a requirement for that for the GDP and the growth of the nation to increase. Yeah, the people at the time wanted to consume more. They couldn't do it with a gold standard. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, do you think that this is what I mean? Like, you guys think like the government is this ruling one mind, that these are stupid people in general?
No,
these are stupid people, guys. Yeah, they are. No, you used to work. These are not people.
There was no demand by the public for that at all.
This is wild. Yeah, you believe that the government should be empowered to tell you that you can't hoard cash or Bitcoin or gold or Tesla batteries.
I think the government is a mechanism. It is just a mechanism, and people.
It is
you and I, and it's a lot easier to blame an abstract entity than to blame most of the people around you.
But that is the problem I have. For this. There was no hue and cry, and nobody voted.
Yes,
nobody
they
voted
do.
For FDR.
Yes, they do.
Take us off the gold standard. Nobody voted for that. The entire
yes,
country
they did.
We don't want
by
that.
the desire of consumption.
It didn't matter because it was federal law.
Okay, so do you think? Let me ask you. Do you think today, okay, if you don't print any more money and you don't have a growth economy and you immediately now stop growth, do you think that's going to keep a nation afloat, or do you think there's going to be riots in the street and a revolution? Well, that's what you're not understanding, Grit. I know really, it's idealistic to say, oh, the people didn't.
You're arguing the result justifies the means. I'm saying that the original means is the reason that the result is now that we can't go back to the gold standard. We physically can't.
We couldn't anyways, Grid, with the population. We couldn't anyways with the size of the. We could not anyways because of the size of our population now. There's no way you could go back to a gold standard anyways, Grid.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree or disagree with that. I'm not going to argue that point. Because I'm not arguing that point. I'm arguing that FDR did it. There was no public outcry to do so, which is what you said. The public wanted it. The public didn't want it. We didn't need it.
FDR didn't do the gold standard. No, Nixon. It was Nixon.
FDR did what he did because He wanted to clean up the mess from the stock exchange, which should have been allowed to just burn down on its own and been recreated as something cleaner, neater, and with less issues. And we wouldn't be in the situation we're in today with people with and more than likely, I can't say 100% that we wouldn't, but more than likely we wouldn't. And the fact is,
government intervention sucks.
Literally just said, we're going off the gold standard. It's an executive order. He made it illegal overnight to own gold. And you just said that was the will of the people. And it was not the will of the people. And it has screwed us. And it's enabled all of the social programs that didn't exist before and there was no need for before.
But just principally, I'm looking at the order now. You wake up
Again,
on
can I actually
May
respond to all this? Because
go ahead.
There's a lot of things I got to actually respond to. Okay?
Go ahead.
First of all,
okay. I don't want to actually go all night on this, but it's okay.
No, I do. I want to answer all these points.
I know it's kind of a fascinating subject to talk about because I really
the nanny
have
state.
a strong distrust of the government.
No, because again. This is an issue that you guys are going a circle around it. You guys are upset that you say don't vote for every little thing. Well, you aren't in a government structure that votes people directly for every single thing. So either you are going to go to a direct democracy where every single thing is voted on for the people, by the people, 51% wins, or the people are responsible. Hold on, Grid. God damn it. Or you're going to have a system where you have outlined a representative republic to where the people are responsible for who they represent them, who they have represent them. The people that go, look at the governmental structure is once those people are in there, they get to decide for us what we do. Okay, whether we like that or not,
no, that's not
we
true.
Can say, "Oh, the people."
That's not true. That's not true because they're supposed to be limited by the provisions.
What limits do they have? Congress can tomorrow go and make an amendment anytime they want, and the representatives in your state can accept that amendment and sign on it.
They literally.
And you have no. They could say tomorrow, amendment number whatever. We're gonna amend the 13th Amendment to say all people are born slaves. What are you gonna do about it? Jack crap.
We would
and they can legally do it.
And
the Supreme Court, and then tomorrow Congress says, and tomorrow Congress says. And tomorrow Congress says any judge that thinks they rule against this, we impeach and replace same hour.
Imperious, I know that you know better than this. They tried this with the 90% tax rate. They tried this with...
I don't, because government has suspended habeas corpus in the past. Government has put people in camps, and it was the people that wanted it that way.
They have. But whenever they do something kind of wildly ridiculous, like you're talking about with the enslaving everyone or whatever, the people just ignore it. They just ignore it. And that's the delicate balance that the branches are always trying to tiptoe, because they are posturing as federal government, but they know that the tiny little bit of government cannot actually control the masses. So they're always doing this little posturing dance of where's the line? Because if we step over it, then we're going to get squashed as government. Because
this is a really fascinating series of questions, and I actually am really enjoying myself. However, I've had enough. I've got other things I need to get to before I go to bed tonight. So,
well, I'm supposed to end at 10:30. I too have things to.
What time is it?
It's 10:35.
It's 10:35. So I called it right on time.
Yeah.
But it is a fascinating subject, Imperious. I actually would like to continue talking about it, just not right now.
I'm just closing. What I'm saying is, look,
the government. I'm sorry.
The government and everything the government does is a mechanism of human beings. They are human beings making these rules, and human beings are executing the rules. Okay, I do not blame an entity or a document or a abstract structure for what is going on. I blame every one of us, because in general, like you've said, The power is what
Is it
we
just me or
give
is he
them and
breaking?
what we acknowledge. Oh, sorry. Like I said, the power is with people of what we give them. Okay? And that's it. But the problem is
Right.
that
You just
people
said it,
now,
power that we give them, and also
yeah,
I totally get it. However, the thing is that again, at any point we can't. Oh, I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought.
We're getting off. We're getting off, by the way. But
the
sorry.
screen got like
okay, no,
really
I just
weird.
wanted, like I said, I just wanted to say, I'm just saying this. People want a big government now. There's no, and it's not because just the government is brainwashing everyone. No, it's a product of that. Just if you look back in all societies, as you grow wealthier, people get more decadent, more reliant on a central authority to take care of them because they don't want to do it themselves. It's just human nature. It always goes that way. That's all I'm saying. Okay, that's it. We'll talk more in depth later, but that was what I was trying to say.
All right.
Okay. Thank you guys.
All
It was a
right.
great conversation. I
Here,
appreciate it. Thank you.
shout out your channel there, Grid.
Oh, it's an Unreasonable Man. I'm on 3 nights a week: Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, 8:05 until usually around 11 Central Time, and then I'm on Monday and Thursday afternoons from 12:05 Central Standard Time until 3 p.m. Sometimes I go long, sometimes I don't. We have a lot of really good conversations. Come and check it out if you're not already a fan, and if you are a fan, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And,
awesome,
James.
We are getting off. Holy smokes! It has zoomed you in. Good grief! Let me try and zoom you out.
I'm on my phone because I could never get it to work on my computer. I gotta figure some stuff out. I got so much stuff using camera that it's crazy. So.
Oh, it's no problem. We are actually signing off, but I know you've been trying to get in here, so I just wanted to give you a quick minute. Here,
Okay.
let's zoom out, son.
Yeah, that's quite zoomed in. I just wanted to say, hopefully, we can get over the fear of, not want to pick you aside and everything based on we don't agree with everything that they stand for, right? And everything. And there was something else I wanted to say, but I don't forgot what it was now because I've been trying to get in here and everything. But thank you for letting me up, though, man.
Well, whatever you did at the end, it has worked. So I don't know. Maybe we'll try that method next time. Guys, that's the show. That's what we got for you. Thanks for being here. If you are still here, then you are a fan. So like all the things, of course, I'm always promoting podcast. So make sure that you're subscribed. What in the world is this? What? Where did my there I am. Make sure that you check out the podcast, which this is the podcast, but if you subscribe on podcasts, it really helps out the show. And last but not least, you can become a member of my private locals community, thejoemobleyshow.com/join. $5 a month. You get the mug, you get the shirt, you get access to me like no one else on the internet has, apparently. And I'm still figuring out the Discord thing, so be patient with me. And this is a lot of fun. I'm enjoying the format. Let me know what you guys think of the format with the monologue, and then the hour-long kind of podcast portion with Samantha and myself, and then some call-in. Great conversation. Thanks to everyone who came up. I will see you guys in the next one. That is all I got.